Hello, my name is Chloe. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you my April wrap up. So I'm gonna try and keep this brief, but I am very happy to say that I have 16 books to talk to you about that I read in April. I've been really struggling to get my reading at least even at like 12 books the past couple of months, so 16 feels like an absolute success. And of those 16, 13 of them were either physical or ebook. I had 12 physical books, 1 ebook, and only 3 audiobooks. So to get through 16 books feels like a very big accomplishment. Also, I did read 6,783 pages, which is a 77% increase on last month. So I was reading a hell of a lot more. I read an average of 226 pages per day, which is an 82% increase on last month. And the average length of the books I was reading was 424 pages, so even that is 10% higher than March. The ratings that I gave were as follows. I had 1 2-star book, 5 3-star books, 7 4-star books, and 3 5 stars. So that made my average rating a 3.8, which is up 0.7 on March. Back to the same rating as in February. So I would take that as a success. Starting from the bottom and working our way up, the first book, the one I gave 2 stars, is Gleam by Raven Kennedy. This is the 3rd book in the Plated Prisoner series, and it was the last one I had on my shelves. I've previously read Gild and Glint, rated them somewhere between a 3 and a 4 star, and unhauled them after finishing. I knew this was going to be an unhaul when I read it. I just wanted to complete reading it because this was a gift from my mom. I decided, no, I need to actually read it before I throw it out, but I knew I wasn't gonna absolutely love this. I did listen to the audio because it is nearly 700 pages long, and physically reading a book for 700 pages that I wasn't really interested in did not feel like a very good idea. I did have an okay time listening to this, I won't lie. I just don't feel like the story was that exciting. I don't think it needed to be this long. Just to summarize, we're following a girl called Oren who is plated gold. That's why she's the plated prisoner, and she is King Midas's favored saddle is what they call them. There's like men and women that you can own, and you call them saddles. And I'll let your imaginations work with what you do with your saddles. She's King Midas's favoured saddle, and I can't tell you much about what we're following in this book because it will spoil the others, but we're just not following enough for 700 pages, I don't think. So very happy to have read this one, get it off my TBR and out of my life. Next up, in the 3-star category, so all of these books I did like, I didn't dislike them, I just didn't feel anything special for them. So the first one is 6 Stories by Matt Wesolowski, and this is a mystery told in podcasts. So we're following an incident that happened in 1997 where Tom Jeffries went missing while on a retreat with fellow teenagers into this woodland area. And now in 2017, so 20 years later, God, that is actually horrific to say out loud, an elusive investigative journalist, Scott King, is working to uncover what happened on the night that Tom went missing, and we're told about the case through 6 stories, so 6 people's recounts of what happened that night, and they're told in separate podcast episodes. So I did enjoy this. I think for me the format was more exciting than the story. I didn't find the story that exciting whatsoever, but telling it through the podcast in this way I did think was something new. It was novel. I don't think I would continue on with these books, but I'm glad that I gave it a go. I just feel like the mystery wasn't that exciting, but it's a fun format. Next up, we have Woman Eating by Claire Coda, and this is a very weird book. We're following a young woman whose name has gone Lydia, who is a vampire, and her mom has been put in some sort of like old people's home with dementia-like symptoms, and Lydia is being forced to live in a world by herself where her mom is not providing like cow's blood or pig's blood it was, for her, and she's just kind of learning how to live as the person she is. It was a very nothing book. I don't think I got much out of this, is why I didn't rate it higher than 3 stars. It was a fun reading experience. It was a different thing to think about, but I just didn't get that much out of it. I don't know why people absolutely love it. I didn't dislike it by any means, but I just feel like I've come away with nothing and not much to think about. So 3 stars. Next up, we have No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. which was an interesting mystery thriller. We're following three sisters who 14 years ago, they left their family home because their mom and dad were murdered, and all of the sisters are hiding something, but we're not really sure if each sister knows what the other sister is hiding. Emma is the main perspective we're following, and she has never told anybody the truth about that night, even though she was the main suspect. So this book's kind of interesting. We're following Emma and her new husband. I don't know, his name's not on here. Yeah, we're following Emma and her new husband as they move back to the family home, which is still there because they are desperate for a place to live, and that is starting to reveal a lot of the secrets of what happened 14 years ago. I didn't dislike this by any means, I just don't feel like it was that exciting. I feel like I came out of the book exactly in a place I thought I was going to be in. Nothing shocked me, there was no twisty story that really grabbed me. So unfortunately it just wasn't a winner for me, but I didn't dislike it by any means. Next up, a very different vibe, we have Without Merit by Colleen Hoover, which for me, it's weird for me to give a Colleen Hoover 3 stars, but this one just didn't really do it for me. We're following Merit and Honor Voss, who are twins, and Merit goes to, she's skipping school, she goes to an antique store and she bumps into this guy, Sagan, and she is just like completely enraptured by him instantly. And for some reason, he starts snogging her at like this fountain, and she's like, what on earth is happening? And then he calls her by her twin's name. So this book, we're following quite a lot of mainly family drama, the ins and outs of a big family, a blended family is the word I mean, and how the different children feel about new relationships and old relationships. We're following the twins' relationship with each other and how they are like compared to each other, and there's also a little bit of a YA romance thrown in here as well. Again, I didn't dislike this book, I just don't feel like it was that special. Normally with a Colleen Hoover, something happens towards the end that really pulls on your heartstrings, and that's where I'm like, 5 stars, amazing, I loved it. But I just didn't get that 5-star buzz out of this, so 3 stars. And then my final 3-star book is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This was completely fine, which I haven't said about a book in a while, but this was completely fine. We're following, what's her face? We're following Lenora Hope and her carer. Lenora is a paralysed old lady, and she has carers brought in to live in the house and to help her like get her daily things done, get her daily needs sorted. We have our new carer, Kit, I think, off the top of my head, who comes in, and Lenora has an old typewriter and she decides that she would like to tell her story through the typewriter. The thing about Lenora is that there has been a lot of speculation around the house and around her because however many years ago, a long time ago, decades ago, the entire Hope family was murdered, but Lenora Hope was the only one left. See, this is very similar to No One Can Know. I think I read them too close together. So she is considered as the perpetrator of this massacre, but Lenora is telling her story through the typewriter to her new carer. And the old carer may or may not have gone missing. So this was fine. I wasn't too thrilled by the story. There were a few parts of it where I was a little bit uncomfortable, especially at like late at night in the dark, but it just didn't do anything crazy for me. I wasn't obsessed with it. And I read Home Before Dark back in January, and I just feel like it can't really compare with that one. So it got stuck at a 3-star, but it definitely wasn't a bad book by any means. Okay, and moving on to the 4-star reads. Obviously I have 7 of them, so there's a few. 4 stars was definitely, if we were picking my most common rating, it was a 4. Starting off with a reread, I reread The Deal by Al Kennedy. This is book 1 in the Off Campus series, and I am relatively ashamed to say that I have nearly every single Al Kennedy book and have not read many of them. So I thought I would reread the first book in the series so that I can familiarise myself with the characters again and hopefully finally carry on with the rest of the series. So this one's following Hannah and Garrett. Garrett needs some help in one of his college classes and he is the captain of the ice hockey team. Hannah is passing and excelling actually in the class that he needs help with, so she is worn down and pressured to sort Garrett out and help him study. She really doesn't want to, she doesn't have the time, but he kind of forces her to, and then things ensue from there. This is a very predictable romance. It's a very easy romance. It's a very smutty romance. I did have a very fun time reading it. I just don't feel like it's the most influential romance of my life ever. 4 stars is a very good rating for me. It just wasn't like kicking my feet level of happy after reading this. I then had another reread. I will come on to a bit more of the series later, but I reread Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins, which is book 3 in the Hunger Games series, and it matches my nails perfectly. So yeah, this is book 3 in the series, and as I was finishing it, I had to go back to my Goodreads review from before to see if my opinion had changed or if I was like not paying attention or something, because 4 stars is obviously a very good rating, but I don't love this one compared to the rest. Something about The Hunger Games and Catching Fire, genuinely, like, I could even watch those movies 100 times over, but Mockingjay just doesn't have the same appeal to me. I don't get that level of like, this is such a new dystopian concept out of this book. I won't tell you too much about it. Obviously, I think most people who are going to read this series probably already have, but you won't be getting spoilers from me. So yeah, I just don't feel like the way this story goes is that like exciting compared to the rest. I do really love the ending, and I was blubbering like a baby, but the like after the first third of this book, it all kind of stays the same until just at the end. So I do really like it, don't get me wrong. I just feel like it's probably the weakest of the series. Which, moving on from that, I also gave 4 stars to The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This was my first time reading this book, and I actually really enjoyed it. So I know that a lot of people dislike this book, but I think it was really good. I probably have the advantage though that I watched the movie first. I watched that pretty much when it came out. I did want to read the book first, but it just didn't happen. And I was reading this and visualizing the movie. I kind of knew where it was going already, so I didn't have that disappointment that I guess a lot of people felt when they read this book without the movie. Again, I can't really spoil it being one of the Hunger Games books, but we're following President Snow, who is prominent throughout the first 3 books, and it's about how he came to be who he is influentially in the Hunger Games, and his upbringing and choices he made in the 10th Hunger Games. So I really do think this was a good book. I feel like it was very insightful on how everything happened and formed in this universe, and there were a lot of like Easter eggs dotted throughout that I enjoyed. I don't know why people really dislike this one, but I can see why people might have been disappointed. But I had a fun time. Another movie to book comparison, I gave 4 stars to My Fault by Mercedes Ron, which is a book that has had a movie based on it since, that me and Cole watched not long ago. But I do have the whole series with My Fault, Your Fault and Our Fault. I do have the whole series in book form, and it was definitely time to read one of them. We're following Noah, whose mom remarries, and she remarries a millionaire in California. So Noah and her mom move in, and Noah has a new stepbrother, Nick. The two obviously hate each other instantly, just by default of being step siblings, but then something seems to spark between Noah and Nick, and it's a stepbrother romance. So know that going in. It really doesn't do more than it says on the tin. It's stepbrother romance. But I had a really fun time reading this. I do really enjoy the movie, so that helped. There is something that happens at the end of this that's very like thriller heavy. It could be quite a dark, disturbing turn to the book, but I just don't feel like it was fleshed out enough. So if that would have been in more detail, this could have easily been a 5 star. But yeah, I had a fun time with it, and I can't wait to carry on with the series. Another book that I found very fun, but just wasn't my favorite thing ever, is The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. So this one was my Patreon buddy read for the month, and again, I had a fun time with it. We're following Cassie, who is suddenly unemployed and she needs a new job. She used to do OnlyFans content, but she's decided she might not want to do that anymore, and she finds a nannying job with a chef, Aiden. Aiden has a young daughter, and he hires Cassie to be her nanny, but they don't know this. But they used to connect when Cassie was a content creator, and Aiden was paying for her services, but they don't know that because they kept their identity secret. This was just a really fun time romance. There was nothing like substantial about this. It was very easy. It was very easy to predict, but easy to read. Very stereotypical of all romances. I liked the different perspective. You don't really get many content creators in books, so that was different. It just wasn't a book that I'm gonna like need to read again. I didn't have those feet kicking feelings, like I said, about the deal. There was nothing like really spurring me on to keep this book and treasure it and read it again forever, but it was a fun read. The next 4-star rating I gave was Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which, dare I say it, might be my least favourite Taylor Jenkins Reid book, which is absolute blasphemy. How could you not love every single one of them? But this one I just feel like wasn't as strong as the rest. Saying that, 4 stars. Very good book. We're following Elsie, who has recently married Ben, and she is craving Fruity Pebbles, so she sends him out of the house, go and get me some Fruity Pebbles. But while he does this, he gets hit by a bus, I think, and he dies. They have only very recently gotten married, and his mom has absolutely no idea that her son got married. She doesn't know who Elsie is or that there was ever a relationship between them, let alone a marriage. So this book is about Elsie dealing with the loss of her husband, but also developing a relationship with her mother-in-law who didn't know she existed, and also we get to see snippets of their relationship as it grew before he died. And I think this was really good. It was very moving, it was very emotional. I'm gonna hold on to it because I feel like this could be a really good read at all times of my life, but I just don't, I didn't get 5-star feels. But it's really good. I feel like I need to be negative if I don't give something 5 stars, but this was a very, very good book. I would just probably recommend Evelyn Hugo over it any day. And then the final 4-star book I have is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, which is another book about death, which seemed to be on my list this month was all death books. So this one we're following Florence, who is a ghostwriter of a very successful author, and she goes in for a meeting with her editor, who is this new guy, Benji, another Ben. I'm sure, are they both Ben? Yeah, that's Ben, that's Benji. She goes in for this meeting and then she learns very sadly that her dad has died. So she has to rush back to her hometown and she has to deal with the funeral and grieving and all that horrible stuff. So that happens, but then while she is there, it turns out that she can see ghosts, and she sees the ghost of Benji, her new editor, and she's like, what on earth is going on here? You were literally alive yesterday. What's gone on? Florence is dealing with the fact that her dad has died and she's grieving, but she's also grieving this guy she just met and falling in love with him a little bit at the same time. So this one was really fun. I'm glad I read it. I see why the hype is there. I don't think it was as good as The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I really, really like that one. And I really like this, just not quite as much. It was fun, it was interesting, a different concept. I like how she throws in different concepts to normal romances, because it felt like she was just having a romance with a guy down the street. He just happened to be dead. So yeah, really good time, would recommend it. And we're nearly there, guys, I promise. I now have my 3 5-star reads of the month and I'm so glad I picked these books up. The first one is no surprise if you've looked at the rest of my wrap up. We have Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins, which I reread in the month of April. This is book 2 of the Hunger Games series and I just think it's absolutely fantastic. It makes me feel all the emotions. For me, this and the Hunger Games are like on par, and then Mockingjay and Songbirds and Snakes have just dropped below it. But I wanted to reread the whole series because I still haven't picked up Sunrise on the Reaping and I need to do that. So in order to do that, I reread all the books, and this one I just feel like it's amazing. Is it even better than the first one? It could be. I won't tell you too much about the individual like events that happen in this one because I'm trying not to spoil absolutely anything, but I just think this was such a good read. It was really well done. Even though I've read it before, I was really tense throughout it and I was like really kind of just like praying that everyone I love stayed alive. Even though I knew what the outcome was, I was still like on the edge of my seat reading this. So I just think it's absolutely fantastic, and I said it in last month's wrap up, I'll say it again now. If you've been putting off the Hunger Games series because you're avoiding the hype, you didn't read them back in the day and now it's just the cool thing to do, give in, read it, they're fantastic. Next up, we have a book I was putting off because I was terrified of how long it would take me to read, and then I genuinely read it in like 3 days, and that is Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh. This is almost 1,000 pages long, and it is book 4 in the Boys of Tonmen series that starts with Binding 13. This is the second book of the Joey and Aoife duology, and I just think it was so very well done. I gave the first Joey and Aoife book 4 stars. I had a few problems with how the drug abuse was talked about. That is one thing you need to know going into this, is there is, along with a multitude of other things, the thing about these books that I struggle with is the drug abuse. But in this book, it was just told in such a way where even though I was really angry at Joey and his choices, the fact that it was making me that level of anger, I was like, oh my god, this is a fantastic book, because I am mad at this man like he's a real man. He is not a real man, Chloe. Like, he's not actually impacting your life. But reading it, it felt like he was, and it felt like he was letting me down. Even though this is not the best written book in the world, there's definitely better written things. There's definitely more intelligent and thought-provoking and everything books in the world. But the feelings that this got out of me, the anger that I was feeling, the sadness that I was feeling, meant that it has to be a 5-star book. Absolutely loved it. Kind of want to reread them all again anyway. Thankfully, I have book 5 and book 6 is coming out next month, so I can keep reading these. But yeah, there's just something about this world that really sucks me in. And then last but by no means least, I included this as my last book in the video because it was my biggest surprise. And that is Every Summer After by Carley Fortune. There is nothing that special about this book, but oh my god, 5 stars, absolutely loved it. We're following Persephone, whose parents buy a lake house for them to visit, and the first time they go to the lake house, there are 2 teenage boys next door, Sam and Charles. Sam is Persephone's age, and they just really hit it off. They become friends instantly. We follow their relationship throughout the years as they keep coming back to this lake house and spending time together. We already know at the start of the book that at some point they got together and something horrific happened. In present day, Sam and Charles's mom has unfortunately died. Again, death. What is wrong with me? Percy, or Persephone, is brought back to this small town to go to the funeral and the wake and spend time with these now men that she used to know as boys. She hasn't seen them in 12 years, but she is devastated that their mom has died. I genuinely just felt so much about this book, but I just felt so personally invested in it that I was like absolutely like gut punched by it. Again, there's nothing that amazing about this book, but I will keep recommending it because it just made me feel things. And that is why we give 5-star ratings, because it just made me feel things. So I recommend this book. And there we have it, guys. Those are the 16 books that I read this month. I am gonna hate editing this because I actually talked for a lot longer than I intended to about all of these, so sorry about that. But if you do want to hear my in the moment the feelings about all these books, I talk about them in my vlogs as I read them, so sometimes I go into a lot more detail than I might have done in this video. Please do let me know down in the comments if you have read any of these, if you have any intense opinions that you'd like to talk to me about. My favorite thing about YouTube is chatting about the books in the comments with you guys, so please do leave me comments on the books that you have read or want to read. But for now, that is all I have time for, so thank you very, very much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!